draw, and they went on to penalty shootout for the Les Blues of France against the Latry of Croatia. They won that encounter by 2-0, and then went into extra time before they came out victorious after penalty shootout. And so you talk about the eventful night that happened there in the world of men's football. But what we talk about club football in the women's category, we had our games go down also yesterday, while in Madrid or in Spain. Real Madrid's first ever victory, well, they defeated Barcelona yesterday, and you could tell that it has been a great 7 days for Real Madrid by getting that advantage in the first leg of the UEFA Men's Champions League, defeating Arsenal by 2-0, and then defeating Barcelona well also yesterday. They're going to this midweek fixture against Arsenal with high hopes. Linda Caicedo, what can you say about the Colombian international? And then talk about the Women's Super League. Despite losing that's in the UEFA Men's Champions League midweek, Chelsea Football Club ensured that they actually made it count as they defeated Manchester City yesterday by 2-1. So I say it was an exciting weekend. We talk about the Miami Open on the show this lovely morning, as well as one tragic news that came out there in the world of boxing. George Foreman. You know, this man actually switched career at a point in time from being a boxer to being a cleric, and then he went back to the world of boxing. Two-time heavyweight champion. Over 2 decades, this man did it. But for George Foreman, he died at the age of 76 over the course of the weekend. And you will tell that that legendary list, you talk about Muhammad Ali, who remains from that list. And we talk about the Nigeria Premier Football League also on the show. Like I said, it was an exciting one. And then the return of the Formula One, the Chinese Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton winning the sprint. But what happened in the race proper there in the Chinese Grand Prix? Well, this man was disqualified alongside his teammate. But it was a 1-2 finisher for the McLaren. And you talk about how the McLaren, they are doing this so great this season. Well, first 2 races, and then McLaren, well, they are top of the constructor standings, and then they have their driver also top of the chart of the driver standings. So I welcome you once again to today's edition of the show, right on 32 FM 94.9. The program is a Scoreboard in 15, and you're listening to the voice of Oluwatimileni SAMIES. So good on the program of this lovely morning. Well, before we join our partners, the BBC Premier League update, we had our games that go down yesterday in the Nigeria Premier Football League, and from the games that went down, it was that victory for the Oluyole Warriors, and we start from that. We will take a listen to the reactions from who? That's the head coach of the Oluyole Warriors, 𝐵𝐵engà Ògúnbọ̀tẹ̀, after the result. Shooting Stars that got yesterday defeating Niger Tornadoes by 3-1.
Congratulations on your win this evening. You just ended a 7-match winless run. How do you feel about it?
I think it's a big relief. It's a big relief for me and for the boys. Honestly, you will see that we have a team that can withstand the test of time. And sometimes when you have rough moments, there's nothing you can do. I thank God we have come back to winning ways. I just pray we'll be able to manage the success.
This has automatically put your team, not yes, give or take on the 4th position on the table with Abia Wales winning away. What is really your preparedness? Are you looking at the standings of that table in order to prepare for your next game?
Well, I think we still have 8 games to determine that. We'll do our best, and we'll continue to do our best, like I did say, because as far as I'm concerned, until after the end of the season, nobody knows what happened. So let's see what we can get out of the 8 games.
Is there anything that sort of changed from the players you've been using previously to the ones you choose to use today?
Apart from attitude, nothing.
Thank you. very much.
Thank you, sis.
All right, today listening to the words of the head coach of the 𝐒𝐈𝐒 Warriors, 𝐷𝐵𝐒 𝐂𝐏, speaking about, the 𝐒𝐈𝐒 Warriors are getting back to winning ways after a stretch of 6 Premier League football games without a victory. But up next for the 𝐒𝐈𝐒 Warriors is a midweek fixture against the 𝐾𝐈𝐒 Warriors. That's on Wednesday. Well, still talking about 𝐒𝐈𝐒 Warriors. Remember that on Monday, myself and Peter, or on Tuesday rather, myself and Peter were here discussing about the President's Federation Cup. But I can tell you that according to the statement released by the NFF, they've announced dates and venues for the round of 32 and following the expulsion of the Shooting Stars Sports Club from the ongoing 2025 President's Federation Cup. What it was, they have secured a place in the round of 16 of the competition. And you could tell that, well, for United also, I think they've gotten their own share of the punishment. Not showing up and thinking they would play in the round of 32. No, it's not done that way. But then we move away. We know that, well, the Super Eagles of Nigeria were involved in a training session yesterday. And, of course, it continues later today before that all-important must-win game against Zimbabwe later tomorrow by 5 p.m. at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium there in Uyo. Well, we'll still talk about some other sporting stories where we have our partners, the BBC, standing by to give us updates from, what happened yesterday in the European scene. And, of course, for the Lions of England, who are set to be in action. Let's join our partners, the BBC Premier League update.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
Hello, I'm Molly Stevens at the BBC Sports Centre. Anthony Gordon has withdrawn from the England squad ahead of their World Cup qualifier against Latvia on Monday, having sustained a hip injury during Friday's 2-0 win over Albania. The forward has returned to Newcastle United for further assessment. England head coach Thomas Tuchel says it's unfortunate timing.
I'm sad that he is now out. He came a bit late into camp and then gets his minutes and gets straight away injured. So it's sad for him, but I think he still needs some couple of days rest. So he's with his family now to get the rest and we find other solutions.
Meanwhile, Tuchel says he has spoken to Aston Villa's Marcus Rashford and Manchester City's Phil Foden after they struggled during Friday's win over Albania, and that they know he appreciates their effort. Rashford and Foden failed to make a significant impression in the Germans' first game in charge of the Three Lions, with Tuchel saying immediately after the 2-0 victory they were not as impactful as they can be. A disappointing night for Scotland, who are relegated to Nations League B after a 3-0 defeat in the second leg of their playoff, losing 3-1 to Greece on aggregate. Greece are promoted to League A. Here's Scotland and Aston Villa midfielder John McGinn.
Tonight, I think Greece deserve to win. That'll maybe give us a kick up the backside for the World Cup qualifiers. We know they're no mugs. We obviously played very well the other night to get a result, but tonight shows we need to be much, much better if we want to get to the World Cup.
And for more football news from the BBC, go to bbc.com/football.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
All right, today listen to the BBC Premier League update as regards what happened. We'll talk about a bit of European football. But like I said, Spain edged the Netherlands in penalty shootouts to reach the Nations League semi-finals. And of course, we have the final for Portugal, who won the maiden edition of the UEFA Nations League. They are in the semi-finals. You talk about France. They are also in the semi-finals. Then you have Spain, also the defending champions, in the semi-finals, and Germany. They are also in the semi-finals as they survived a scare to make the Nations League semi-finals yesterday after playing out a 3-3 draw against the Azuris of Italy. Well, of course, we're talking about a bit of club football, and Juventus, they are set to sack that's Italian, that's Thiago Motta at this point. For Thiago Motta, well, less than one season into his tenure, well, this man, the 42-year-old, is set to be replaced by a former Juventus player, Igor Tudor, that's in the dugout that's the old ladies. Well, for Juventus, currently they sit at disappointing 5th place in the league with just 9 matches left to play. defeating the Italian Serie A. But how does this end up for Thiago Motta? Let's see how it goes. Well, all right, let's see how we can go. That's where we come later in the afternoon. The Super Eagles that we top our list, as well as reactions, training, all that happened over the course of the weekend. Myself and Peter Surely. Maybe Blessing will join us on the show, and we will be here to talk about other sporting stories. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined us on today's edition of the program. Till meet later in the afternoon. I'm SAMIES, your sports captain, and up next is Baba Vendo. Do enjoy the rest of the day, and bye for now.